It's the Luka Doncic show as we preview his upcoming season. A historic one for Doncic, of course, winning the scoring title last year. 5-time first-team All-NBA selection. His 5th straight year making first-team All-NBA. Bobby, talk to me about the statistical profile of Luka Doncic, who is arguably the best player in the NBA right now, and what we can look forward to based off of what he did last year.
All of these numbers are real. None of them are fake. He averaged 33.9 points per game, 9.2 rebounds, 9.8 assists, 1.4 steals. That's career highs in everything across the board.
49% high free throw percentage, too.
Career high free throw percentage is going to make everybody excited, but also career high 3-point percentage, career high effective field goal percentage. Basically, he was very good. I think that we can all agree on that one. And he does have 2 guaranteed years left in his contract at about $88 million before he can sign approximately 5-year, $100 billion contract starting next summer. So I don't know how much he has left to prove.
Is that the exact math?
No, not KG money at all. Trust me, I would let y'all hold something if I had that kind of money for sure.
I don't know what he's got left to prove, but I know we can sing his praises all day. There are things he can improve on,
which is frightening.
But I think Luka has arrived, folks.
Well, let's talk about things that he did improve on last season and whether it's going to be duplicated. Just starting with the three-point shooting, he was the second most prolific three-point shot maker behind Stephen Curry. He had the most attempts, the most makes, behind only the greatest shooter that's ever played the sport. What was the change for that? Is that real? Is that going to continue? Is he still going to be that good? And we saw a little bit of a dip in the postseason, and that is something that he can improve on. But in the regular season, like, are we still expecting this to carry right on over?
I mean, look, you guys already guaranteed yesterday he's going to win the scoring title again.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, you heard it here first on DLLS Mavs for sure.
He's going to be a top 1, 2, 3 favorite to win the MVP. I mean, obviously, the only things missing at this point, MVP and championship. He's going to be an annual MVP contender. We'll see if the Mavs can continue to make progress from where they were last year. Basically, I mean, winning the West was a massive achievement. Obviously, the finals were really lopsided, so that left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. But, I mean, look, I think I said it on, I can't remember what show it was. One of the first shows I was on, and it's like, this is everyone loves to worry about Luka, but he is the last element of the Dallas Mavericks that I would worry about. I think management feels the same way. And after the Goran Dragic game in Slovenia that I was lucky enough to be at, I knew he was going to start ramping it up to get ready for training camp at the end of the month. Everything I've heard is that's what's going on. I think we've seen some pictures leak out of him working out with a second division team in Slovenia that his father is part of the administration of. So, you know, he's since the Dragic game, he's starting to get serious. We're still, today, you know, we got 19, 20 days until practices start. I think you're going to see a very focused, very determined, very motivated number 77.
It's interesting because you brought that because one of the things I hope to ask Dirk when we talk to him a little later on is the approach that Luka has taken this offseason going into this upcoming year. Of course, Dirk coming off that finals loss in 2006, coming into that next year, of course, won the NBA's MVP. I wonder what that approach is for a player coming off that finals appearance and how Luka's been approaching that offseason and how much more motivation he has based off all the things he achieved last year.
I think it was different for Dirk because 2006 was torture. I mean, the 2-0 lead, the way it unraveled, you know, that was, I mean, I will never forget that night. That I'm a very slow writer. I was writing forever after that game, and Dirk Nowitzki, surrounded by several of his closest friends in the organization, was still in the arena, well into the morning. Just how crushing the 2006 finals played out, and just what a mark it left on them, and then what happened in 2007 as well. You know, the Mavs weren't in last season's finals. I mean, you can't call that a heartbreaker because I mean they went down 3-0. I mean, it wasn't the competitive series. It wasn't anything like 2006 in terms of competitiveness as a finals, but you know, everybody who knows Luka a lot better than me, he does not like to lose.
Yeah.
So as great of a run as it was, and none of us geniuses said the Mavs were going to win the West. None of us had the Mavs winning the West as a team that didn't have home court advantage in a single series. But I would imagine he took the loss very hard and doesn't want to hear about getting to the finals. He wants to win the finals. So, I mean, he will show up, I think, with ample fury because of the way that went down.
With fury.
Which will be devastating for the
Kind of
rest of
how
the
I
league.
show up with, when I got to sit next to Cato. Ample fury.
Ample fury for
every
Cato.
It is
show.
written in your deal that I have
This
to
is
sit
why
in
we're
between
separated.
rows.
Exactly. Bobby is separated.
It was
No.
100% written into the
Your
deal.
fury is only directed at Ben when he wears Chelsea gear.
Oh, that's true.
I
Or
was,
when we talk
yes,
about
I,
United.
I was
At least I'm
actually
not
a
doing
lot
that.
madder about that.
Yeah.
You notice the GM's not showing his
He's not showing it up today.
his face today in the
I'm
studio.
I'm a harmless fan of a team that doesn't win. Certainly not against City. So there's no reason to be upset. Have fury at me.
Luka has gotten better at things on the court every year of his career.
Yeah.
Like last year, I just read all his numbers were career highs, like Tim was talking about, number 2 in the NBA in 3 points made behind only Steph. And I think after the All-Star break in the 21-22 season, Luka might have been your league leader in 3 points made. So, I mean, he's been a big-time shooter for a while now. I think his biggest projected improvement this year, hopefully, is just on the defensive end of the floor generally. He locked in so...
And for most of the year, he was a top 10 steals guy per game.
Yeah, but I mean,
this past
especially
season.
after the deadline and after the Mavs had that team meeting on March 5th after they got, kind of tossed around by the Pacers, Luka really dialed it in and locked in on defense in a way that I haven't seen him do before. And that carried out throughout most of the playoff run, especially whenever his body would allow him to. But kind of the idea of bringing in Clay, again, we've talked about this before, like they wanted guys that can help make the regular season easier for Luka and Kyrie. And the ultimate goal is that Luka doesn't have to put 99% of his mental and physical energy into offense. He doesn't have to solve 25 problems down the floor every single time because you got an all-star in Kyrie next to you. You got a Hall of Famer in Clay that's going to be running around, bombing open threes, and then you got 2 bigs that he can just throw the ball up to and they can dunk it home every time. PJ Washington bringing up the floor. So hopefully the big improvement for him this year, whether or not he wins a scoring title, whether or not he wins the assist crown,
You're
whatever.
kind of making the argument that he
defense.
shouldn't be the scoring leader, that maybe that...
Well, if he's
maybe
going to be
reduce some of that usage rate maybe a little
shooting
bit.
40% on 10 threes or 11
true.
threes a game, you're going to get there on accident.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think it's more just the repetitive grinding and throwing yourself into 5 people in the lane. With more space, with more shooting, there should be more gaps for him to attack, more space around the rim to finish, so less physical punishment, which means you can dial it in on defense a little more. I think that's like very like intangible thing.
Do we expect a little bit less of a usage rate for him, or is he going to always be consistently one of the top 2 or 3 guys in terms of usage rate every single year, even with some of the additions now that they made in terms of, especially with Klay Thompson this upcoming season?
He's going to get all the assists. He's going to get all the assists.
I think his usage is still going to be right at the top of the league. I don't think that's going to change.
I think one of the questions when we get a chance to speak to Jason Kidd for the first time, whether that's media day or, I'm not sure exactly when, maybe you guys will see him this weekend at Dirk's tennis event. Last year there was such an emphasis on playing faster. Remember, Jason Kidd went to Luka Doncic in the offseason and said, we need to play faster. What do you think? How, let's speed this thing up. Will the Mavs try to do that again? Will they make that pace an emphasis? I remember Mr. Cato said the other day he thought that the Mavs pace would drop slightly this season compared to last season. So I genuinely don't know where they want to go with that. So I think that strategically that's something we need to ask the coach and get some clarity on what they want to do.
One of the things that has been brought up in the chat a little bit, and we'll get more into Luka in terms of his MVP chances coming up in the next segment, but also not just the play in terms of what he does on the floor, but obviously the way that he handles himself on the floor as well when it comes to his disposition with the referees, how he's handling things when they don't necessarily go their way. Is that something that, based on what he's to continue to do, still needs to improve on based on what we know about him and how competitive he is every single night on the floor?
In 22-23, the Mavs were, I think, either number 1 or number 2 in technical fouls committed. Now, that includes unsportsmanlike tech fouls, but then also like illegal defense and stuff like that. Last year, dropped a little bit. Kyrie doesn't pick up a lot of T's. There are other guys on the team. Once they traded, Grant Williams was picking up techs, but,
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, he wasn't around. I think Lively might have picked up 1 or 2. PJ Washington picked up 1 or 2. So for the most part, everyone else has it under control. If he needs to pick up a tech every now and then to prove a point or get off frustration or whatever, that's fine. But what you don't want to do is it be like March 4th and he has 2 techs left the rest of the year before suspension.
Yeah.
Use them wisely.
I have always I feel like this doesn't excuse all of his texts, but a lot of them come from his own frustrations at himself when he's, not, physically right, when he's not.
It starts a game 3 for 11.
Yeah, and a lot of that is like stuff that is solvable if he has the consistency, the physical consistency all season that we keep wanting to see from him, rather than, a mid-season slump where, he's not quite in shape or, just needs to physically recover. And so I think it's a holistic sort of thing that will improve as other parts of his game improves. Certainly we saw him flip switches during the postseason several times. We know that he's capable of doing that. Just seeing it consistently, that is an area to improve, but it's one that we know he's capable of.
Let's talk about, fellas, what he still has to improve on and what his MVP chances are this upcoming year. Arguably the favorite to win the league's MVP, will be a perennial candidate every single year. But Bobby, I'll start with you. What do you want to see Luka continue to improve on going into this upcoming season?
More dunks.
Oh, you want to see him
Dunk
finish at the rim
ball.
with little dunks
I think,
more,
he dunked it twice last season,
Okay.
I think.
I have it right up twice. It was the lowest in his career. His rookie year, 25 dunks.
Unacceptable. I just went through a whole list of career highs that he established last season, but career low in dunks.
Did you say he had 25 dunks in his rookie year?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was a bouncy boy.
I honestly
Yeah.
do not remember that.
2 dunks is pathetic.
25 dunks? Which
right.
one? You don't remember the
Yeah,
2
the
dunks?
25 dunks as a rookie. I can't picture that.
I actually recently saw a supercut of all the dunks from his rookie year. It was a lot of. There's a few pretty impressive ones. I know the one that always sticks out to me is against
Big
Denver.
game in Denver, yeah.
Yeah, there was a big
That's
game in
at
Denver
altitude,
that
though,
I
so
believe
you got to
it
take
tied
that
it.
into consideration.
It's at altitude. I wonder if that.
Altitude with an
Yeah.
attitude.
Oh, I like that. That might be a t-shirt. You can put that
But
on
yeah,
a
I mean,
t-shirt.
he's driving to the rim less, just in general. That's also a thing to point out. He is no longer. I mean, it was, let's see, his second year in the league. 26% of his shots were within 3 feet of the rim.
Whew.
He was just getting there like automatic, like a monster. Like
That is the benefit of having KP at the 5,
That's
especially
very true.
once
Yeah.
Dwight went down, they just went pure 5 out. It was unbelievable floor
last
spacing.
season, it was a career low. Just 12.3% of his shots came directly finishing at the rim. Obviously, he takes a lot more kind of in the 3 to 10 foot range. He uses the mid range at times, taking just way more threes as a kind of volume of his shots. But I don't know. I don't think him having a career low at the rim is bad. It would be better if it ticked up a little bit naturally.
More dunks.
Just because of the spacing, just because it's, he is physically, feeling great and able to get to the rim. But I don't think we're ever going to see sophomore year Luka come back. And clearly he's evolved past that. He doesn't need to be, living, renting room, an apartment, under the rim.
Yeah, I mean,
He
the
can do his work.
counterpoint to him finishing less
Yeah.
or finishing more at the rim in 2019-20 is he shot like 32% from 3 that year or something.
Is a 30, 10, and 10 ever on the table? Or maybe it's 28, 10, and 10. Can
Oh,
he get
yeah.
Can he get to 10 and 10?
Absolutely,
My
yeah.
hot take for Luka this year is that he's going to average a full triple-double this season.
Is the defense going to be good enough to force enough misses for him to get to 10?
You're going to miss 23s a game as a matter of course.
Well, I guess here's the other question. What's easier, to get to 10 rebounds or 10 assists a game? 10 assists, right?
10
Probably
assists is
assists,
way
yeah.
easier for him, yeah.
Because
Because
what was he? You said
He was
30?
at 9.8 rebounds per game last season.
no, he's at 9.2. He was at 9.8 assists.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I had that
Oh,
wrong.
my goodness.
Wow. I got something wrong.
And you got
Bobby got something. Alert!
So it was
Bobby got a
30
statistic
it was
with
wrong.
Stein sitting next
it
to
was
him.
big.
Oh
was
my
basic-
gosh!
I'm sorry.
It was basically.
It's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
It was so it's basically 34, 9, and 9, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Not bad, right?
34, 10, and 9.
I like how
Yeah,
Mark
34,
just like
9,
shakes his head.
34,
Like, are you
9,
kidding
and
me?
10. Really, I mean, 9, 8 assists is 10.
Luka wins MVP. Top 3, top 2. Where are we at with Luka in terms of his MVP?
Win. Screw it. He'll win it.
He wins the MVP this year. Tim.
I think it's pretty likely. I don't know. I mean, I think all the narratives have shapen up in the right way, and I know we did a whole episode about this, and we don't need to backtrack too much.
sure.
But how with Shea finishing second and with the Thunder being very good, do you think Dallas has to be like let's say they're the second seed and 5 wins behind the Thunder.
This is just my instinct. I am no longer an official voter. I'm now.
Did I take yours?
Huh?
Did I take yours?
That explains the tension.
I surrendered mine.
We finally got to the bottom of it.
No. I don't. I've been invited back, but I basically when I went to the New York Times, they weren't allowed to do it. That we weren't allowed to do it there. And so when I left the New York Times, I could have gone back, but I actually liked not voting. I write about it like I always have, but I actually like not voting and just being an observer of it. From an observer's seat, I do wonder if the fact that Oklahoma City's roster has been strengthened so much and that the Thunder are such a favorite to win the West #1 seed, that could work against SGA's MVP case.
Sure.
I think that actually helps Luka to a degree. So if the Mavs can finish top 3 in the West, I think the greater obstacle for him might be the top of the East. The top of the East is a lot better. And so let's say we get a surprise where the Knicks or the Sixers win the East's #1 seed over Boston. That's gonna help
maybe.
a Brunson or, does that help Embiid again? Does Embiid play 65 games? So I think, what if Milwaukee, a lot of people are, you said it yesterday that you're down on the Bucks.
Low.
If the Bucks have a big season, that's going to help Giannis. So I actually think what happens at the top of the East might influence the MVP race as much as anything.
Should be very interesting.
We got them whispering. So
I know. I was making sure everything was all good. But
We're conspiring.
But the MVP race is going to be a heated one. Luka Doncic is one of the favorites to win the MVP this year.
We all silly like the mayor.